Why are new cars so expensive? According to recent reports, the average price of a new car in the UK is nearly £40,000 and nearly $50,000 in the US. Used car prices are falling slowly, but Auto Trader reported that the average price of a used car is still over £17,000. So, in this current economic crisis, shouldn't prices be falling due to the tight squeeze on people's wallets? However, car prices are currently rising, with manufacturers killing off the cheapest models. So why is this, and is there an end to the madness in sight? One clear reason is inflation. With the rate at nearly 10% in the UK at times last year, car prices rose significantly on the new and used market. However, car prices were rising by more than this, suggesting it isn't the only reason for the price hikes. And with inflation dropping to 4.2% in the UK, it probably isn't the biggest factor anymore. Another reason is supply and demand. Looking back at the past few years, supply for cars had fallen heavily due to the COVID pandemic. Microchips used in screens and sensors weren't supplied to car manufacturers in the same quantities due to greater demand for electronic goods as people were stuck at home. There was also decreased demand for cars at this time, as few people could go anywhere, so there was no need to buy a new car. So when demand rose as people had cash to splash and more freedom, there was a problem. Companies couldn't keep up with the demand and therefore had to raise prices or let dealerships mark up cars to extreme levels. And because people had more money and couldn't spend it on holidays, for example, people were still willing to pay these increased prices. Furthermore, the fall in production numbers meant there were increased waiting times throughout the market. People were selling cars with low mileages for more than when they bought them when they were new, because people were and still are willing to pay extra for desirable cars with long build times. Even more used cars had higher prices as car buyers turned to the second-hand market in search of cheaper cars. The scarcity factor meant relatively modern cars shot up in value, whilst classics also rose as people wanted to take on new projects in case it was another lockdown and they were stuck at home again. With production almost back to normal though, why are car prices still rising significantly, and what will the future of the industry look like? One reason why cars are more expensive now is that most vehicles are more upmarket than 5 years ago. This is exemplified by the likes of Skoda, Kia and Hyundai, who target pricier markets than before. Most brands have at least one premium model now, as they know there is greater demand for them and the profit margins are obviously higher. Manufacturers tailor their offerings to the market, so Britain and the US have more expensive cars. They can only be equipped in higher trim levels, whereas Asia and Eastern Europe tend to have cheaper, more basic models that aren't sold in the West, as there is a greater appetite for them. The market has shifted away from cheap hatchbacks and budget saloons to SUVs and crossovers. This has led to the end of cars like the Ford Fiesta, and other affordable hatchbacks are likely to go soon as car companies prioritise the more expensive SUV. These are obviously larger, which increases the price, but this is not the only reason why they are more expensive. The market is now awash with them, and as a result firms can charge more as people clearly demand them. Many have already been convinced by SUVs and now the raised hatchbacks that are sold as crossovers. People are desperate to own one as they are seen as desirable, and brands could take advantage of this. Prices may also be rising due to the increase in the number of payment methods, more specifically finance and leasing, as options like PCP and hire purchase mean that buyers don't even have to put down a deposit sometimes. With the payments being split across up to 6 years, it seems more tempting than ever to purchase a new car. The number of people buying new cars and more expensive ones is rising. So manufacturers can exploit this by raising prices, which will only impact the monthly payments slightly. Offering 0% interest finance also means the manufacturer can charge more as the cost of borrowing is non-existent. Another reason why car prices are rising is the rise in popularity for EVs and hybrids. Electric vehicles in particular have shot up in sales terms, with it estimated that there are 1 million on the roads in the UK. They will increase the average price as they are more expensive. This is due to the price of batteries and motors and the additional technologies needed. Hybrids are obviously more expensive than conventional vehicles due to the addition of an electric motor and battery if it's a plug-in. They have a higher residual value, especially electric cars, due to the higher starting price and consumers needing less polluting vehicles if they live in London or another city with a clean air zone, so they also impact the used car market. So far, it seems like the high prices are due to demand from the consumers and manufacturers taking advantage of this. However, prices have now risen due to cars now having new, more advanced safety features that only more expensive vehicles had previously. All new cars now have to have reversing cameras and lane assist, which adds to the cost of production. Companies that didn't have these on vehicles, or it was an optional extra, now have to install them on all vehicles. The additional cost is passed on to the consumer. Many companies also now have blind spot monitoring, sensors to detect driver alertness, and other features like automatic braking when the car senses danger. So then, is there any chance of car prices falling? Well, probably not. Car manufacturers no longer have to worry about higher prices, as cars are more attainable due to finance deals. It is blatant that cheaper cars are dying as companies prioritise their top earners, SUVs, especially those that have been electrified, whether that be a pure EV or a hybrid. Tesla reducing their prices to become more competitive with cheaper cars are an outlier, as many dealerships are increasing list prices with some vehicles, especially performance-oriented vehicles, being in high demand but limited supply. Whilst this produces a great opportunity for those looking to make money on cars, the average car buyer is suffering, and there seems to be no end in sight.